The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And A.J. Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me as usual, A.J. Applegarth. How's it going, man? You are muted. Is that 2 weeks in a row? That is phenomenal. Yes! You do that on purpose, don't you?
No, I literally had to replug in my mic, and I guess when you unplug it, plug it back in, it decides it wants to go automatically on mute.
All right.
So yeah, sure. I'm watching myself with my Adam Gase eyes
Yes.
on my TV as you cheer on the fact that I screwed up my mic yet again.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So anyway, how's it going?
Good. It's going well. Things are really looking up right now, thanks to the on button. So yeah.
Fantastic. All right. I can all right. So we have the Week 4 2020 Fantasy Football Prep show for you tonight. Right now, we've got the exciting Broncos and Jets game on right now. I mean, nobody was really looking forward to it, but it's not a pretty game. But I mean, hey, there's some points, so I guess we'll take it, right? I started the Denver defense, and it looks like it's going to backfire.
Ooh.
Whatever.
Probably because
Anyway.
I picked them up like 3 hours ago and decided to start them in one of my leagues.
It's all your fault. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, I'll always be glad to find a way to blame you. So before we get moving on, I want to remind everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on Periscope. Once it's up on Anchor, it'll get out to Spotify and iTunes, etc. So go ahead and like us and leave a comment and everything else there. So we appreciate the support. So the big news this week, coming out of Week 3, going into Week 4, man, is all the COVID. Unfortunately, we've had the Titans had 9 cases, 9 positive cases on Monday. And then, they shut down the Vikings and the Titans camps all week, retested everybody, came back this morning with 2 more positive cases for the Titans. So they decided to postpone the Steelers-Titans game. I mean, it is what it is. It sucks. It's unfortunate, but we kind of knew this was going to happen. I'm actually kind of surprised it took until Week 4 to happen. So I'll take that as a good sign for the rest of the season, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, I think it's obviously it's a shame because it's 2 teams where you have some pretty powerful fantasy players.
Yes.
Between Henry and A.J. Brown when he was healthy, but he hasn't played the last couple of weeks anyways, so this
actually helps
benefits him. Yeah.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson as well.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of guys that are benefited by it, but I mean, honestly, fantasy owners are a lot of people are pissed. I see Twitter really reacting negatively to it, but I'm like, and a lot of people are like, points should be retroactive the week that they play. I'm like, you can't do that. Because literally, if the game were played this week, A.J. Brown and possibly Deontay Johnson weren't going to play. You would not have had those players 4 weeks from now, whenever it does play, maybe. Those players could be in, and that's just not the same. But so to me, you just treat it as a bye week. And it was interesting because a lot of people were like, well, how are the sites going to handle it? Are all of them going to put all these players on the COVID list? And I haven't seen any other site do it but Sleeper, which I thought was very interesting. So I saw all the Titans and Steelers players go on the COVID list today.
Yeah.
I put the 3 guys I had on multiple teams on the COVID list and just picked up 3 random guys because I'll take a shot in the dark, and if they suck, I'll just drop them after this week and bring everybody back up.
Yeah,
so
pretty much what I did.
That's what you have to do if you've got that opportunity on Sleeper. I have not seen ESPN do it. I haven't seen Yahoo do it. I don't play. I don't think my fantasy league did it. I don't play on CBS or NFL, so I don't know if they've done it. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a bye week. And I said that on Twitter today, too. After the news came out, I was like, rankings will be updated soon. And by the way, after, reading a bunch of people commenting about it on Twitter, I said, this is how I think it should be handled because everybody seemed to want to put their 2 cents in. So fine, I put mine in. So, anyway, let's get on with it and bring our guest on here, Jonathan Chan, who is the waiver wire guru over at Fantasy Six Pack. He's a host of the Fantasy Edge podcast that drops Monday night, Tuesday morning, and he is our fantasy baseball content manager as well. So lots of big things going on for him over here, and glad to have him on the show and glad to have him for the site. How's it going tonight, Jonathan?
I am doing pretty well, Joe. Can't complain. But you call me a guru, and that puts a lot of pressure on me. So now I really can't screw up next week.
Can't screw up on the show either. Just kidding.
Yeah. It starts now.
let's get into it. Before we jump in, we like to do our beer of the week. So Jeff, cue the music, man.
Beer.
All right, so yeah, each week we decide to let the listeners and viewers know what we're drinking while we're talking to everybody. And Jonathan, since you are the guest, I will let you go first.
Something simple for me, just a nice Amsterdam blonde here. I get at the Amsterdam Brewery here in Toronto. Nice and simple, but it's at the super big can. It's like 1.5 times the size of a regular tall can, so it's just efficient. It's one of my favorites.
I like big cans.
AJ,
always been a fan.
Thank you for I lobbed that up for somebody. Thank you, AJ.
Hey, if it's lobbed anywhere in the vicinity of my earshot, it's getting smashed home. All right, I'm drinking the Aslan Beer Company's Rocket Surgery. It is their double dry hopped Devil India Pale Ale. This is my last of the 4. So yeah, I've been holding this one a little bit and figured now's the time.
Absolutely. I had that one, I think about a month ago. That was one of the ones I got when I was saying I was holding on to this one for a little while. So I'm drinking an Aslan Drippin' on the Cheap. It's also a double dry hop, double IPA, 8.5%. I gave this one a 4.25 on Untapped. It's just a smooth. It's actually it's a very bitter beer. I will say that, but I do enjoy it. But you got to drink it fast because sometimes, like if you don't drink it very fast, the bitterness gets real nasty at the end. I will say that. That's the only negative part to it. I kind of hung around with one for a couple, like an hour and a half. One night I was just down here like watching a football game, and like at the end of it, it's like, oh God, like, that's not good. The beginning of it's really good though. Anyway, they get real harsh. So, all right, let's jump into the topic here. And the first thing is, so we're doing our advice column every week where we just kind of pick a topic and just kind of rant about it and give some advice to people. This week so it's really, how to deal with a slow waiver wire week, right? So last week was like balls out. Everybody's got to go hard at the waiver wire. There were so many injuries. You just got to go into it, right? Everybody had to spend money, fab, whatever. You had to go in. But this week was kind of like there wasn't really much there. Like my advice really is to not don't overreact to it. Right? Don't think that, I have to make a move. Sometimes the right move is to not make a move, right? But, if you're still looking to improve your team, the best way to do that is to trade. And that kind of takes me to kind of 1A, 1B of the advice column this week, and that's trading advice. And AJ, you and I talk about this sometimes during the preseason shows, but we never really get into it that big during the season when the trading's actually going to happen. And so 2 quick points I'm going to make, and I want to see if AJ and Jonathan, you guys have anything to add here. So my one big advice here is really don't be a jerk about it, right? But and what I mean by that is when you go after a player on somebody's team, you need to go after and give them an offer that you think they're going to accept. You can't look at their team and go, oh, well, they've got 4 really good running backs, but I want their best receiver. And they only have 2 good receivers. They're not. So I'm going to offer them another good running back for that good receiver. That does them no good. You've got to think about the other team's needs as well when you're making a trade. Yes, you don't want to help the other team. But look, in the end, you're trying to help your team get better. That other team is trying to do the same thing. They're not just going to hand you over players and go, oh, well, I mean, it's a fair trade, so I'm gonna make it. It can be a fair trade all you want, but replacement value has a lot to do with trades too. It's who are they going to throw back in that next wide receiver if they give you one for a running back, and who is that running back replacing, right? So you've got to think about all these things. Like, look at it from their angle. Like, if they came at you with the same trade, would you accept it? You know, if the answer is no, then ultimately I wouldn't even offer it. If it's a maybe, all right, fine. If it's a borderline trade, fine, offer it, see what they say. I never have understood where somebody gets really mad, and because I've declined a lot of trades where somebody's like, but it's a really fair trade. And I'm like, yes, player for player, it's a fair trade. But team for team, it is not a fair trade. It hurts my team in the long run. So I just don't do it. And then the second thing I want to say is just don't offer insulting trades. And you know who you are if you do it. I get multiple in every league. AJ's raising his hands. Yes, AJ, you are one of those. You send me trades.
Sorry, I have a weird thing going on.
You don't send me trades, but you tell me trades that you're going to send other people. And I was like, oh, no, you can't do that.
I am that guy. Yes.
Yeah. Do not send insulting trades. Like, honestly, I'll take like 1 or 2 of those from people and then warn them and say, look, stop sending me these trades or we're not talking about trades anymore. And I've literally just cut people off. Like, I will not talk trade with you anymore unless you actually get serious about it. I mean, you insult me enough, it's just not going to happen. You know, you can't look, buy low, sell high is a thing, but I'm not selling high on the third string running back who randomly scored 3 touchdowns one week and then had a 21-point game. I'm not doing it, guys. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's that stupid. Nobody's going to go, oh, but he scored 26 points. Yeah, no. Sorry, guys. Not going to happen. I'm not giving you my number 15, the number 15 overall running back for a guy who just scored 21 points but had 0 2 weeks before. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, those are my 2 big points. There's many, many more I feel like you could take. But, Jonathan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you hit the nail right on the head. Just if you're sending a trade, it's something that obviously it should benefit both teams, and you don't want to piss off other owners in your league because then you're not going to get the trades from anybody. So just don't be a jerk. Is the lesson here?
Don't be a jerk. Yes.
Don't be a jerk.
How I let it off is perfect. I love it. AJ, anything else?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I tend to try to look at those trades and then obviously end up pulling back a lot of them because I don't want to be that guy all the time. Sometimes, if it's a newer league, you might not know everybody that's in it. You can take a stab at it, but I mean, at least for us, it's not, every one of the leagues we're in is pretty good competition, and people pretty much know what they're doing. Hold on.
So
I might need to sneeze. I don't know.
So while you're figuring that out, let me say one thing with you, AJ, and the trades. Some of the trades that you send me before you send them. The one thing I will say about yours is a lot of times you will offer that like 3-for-1 trade to where you're giving the quantity, right? You're like, oh, but I'm giving him all these players where like the total points this guy's going to score is more than the guy he's giving back to me. It doesn't matter. That's where the replacement value comes into play. It's like, who are those guys replacing? And does he need all 3 of those players? And then minus the one that he's giving you, like, does it really balance out his team? Or is it really diminishing his team much more than you think? And so that's where I'm always like, that doesn't work. And it's hard. Like, I'll say this. I get a lot of trade questions on Twitter. It's super hard to evaluate trades because they're just like, oh, here's a trade, this guy for this guy. And I'm like, fine, it looks cool on paper. I have no idea what the other teams are. I had no idea what your scoring settings are. Like, so if you're going to send me trade questions on Twitter, if you're listening, I would appreciate as much information as possible. Screenshots of the teams, scoring format, that kind of thing. Those matter, right? Those matter more in trades than they do just like random pickups. So and even start sit questions, like that matters way more in trades than anything else. But I think, unless AJ, you had something else to say, if you've gotten over your sneeze.
Probably, for now at least.
It's all good. Yeah, so let's jump into the next topic, and this kind of goes hand in hand here. And we wanted to get into some buy low, sell high guys. So, I mean, of course, everybody wants to trade. This is the time of the year. We're a quarter way through the season. I've got some buy low and some sell high broken down by position. And I'm going to start with a quarterback who, yeah, I mean, I'm not in love with him. Like, I'm not like, you got to go get him. But I think he's being severely he's just being tossed aside. I see him on the waiver wire in a few leagues. So maybe you don't have to go trade for him. But I think you could go get Drew Brees super, super cheap right now. And honestly, unless you've got a Russ Wilson, a Josh Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, those top 5-6 guys, I think Brees is right there with all of those other streaming type quarterbacks. He's possibly getting MT back, Michael Thomas back this week. If not this week, it looks like next week is very, very possible. I mean, Drew Brees just scored 26 fantasy points without him last week. Granted, it was a lot of Kamara, but I mean, hey, Drew Brees is not a bad quarterback still. He's not what he once was, but he can get the job done. I think there are much, much better days ahead for him, to where you can maybe pair him with another quarterback on your team and stream both of them back and forth, like play the matchups, right? I might not want to play Drew Brees every week, but there's going to be a lot of weeks I want to, even coming up. So, I mean, Jonathan, what do you think about, buying low on Drew Brees?
Yeah, I mean, Brees, like you said, he hasn't been bad the first 3 weeks, and he's going to get his best weapon back maybe this week, probably next week. And
yeah,
you mentioned about the Kamara and the yards after. It doesn't matter how he gets the yards, as long as he gets the yards. That's all we care about.
No, so, absolutely not.
Yeah, as long as he's going to produce, which with Michael Thomas I think he can, then yeah, it's a good buy low.
Yeah, I mean, and I really do think you can get him for dirt cheap right now. Like, most people that had Brees already had somebody else, and they're not going to really care to get rid of him, it feels like. So, but now is the time to go get him, because before Michael Thomas comes back, once Michael Thomas comes back and they see how well he's going to play again, you're not going to be able to get him as cheap. So now's the time to grab him. My running back buy low, AJ, it looks like you just added somebody. You want to throw this out there?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar vein as Brees is Brady. I caught a little heat last week for dropping him in a league because he really hasn't blown up like everybody thought he was going to. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people did. All the Brady believers. But I mean, there's so much talent on that team that it makes sense, And then they bring in his buddy Gronk, and then they bring in Fournette, and Fournette hasn't really panned out yet. But just looking at
he's
that,
randomly hurt.
So, well, yeah, exactly. So that doesn't help either. But I mean, looking at that schedule, he's here the whole season until week 13. So that helps a lot as well, for your teams to be able to get somebody on there that can be consistent and has a nice schedule moving forward. Really this first 4 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks is kind of tough for him, but plus you got him learning a new offense. I think after that, and he kind of broke out this past week too. So that's the other reason I was catching a little shit, but if you look at that and see, you might not be able to buy him as low, but I think now's the time to try to jump on him if you're interested. So, sorry to cut you off for the running back there, but
no, it's all good. I mean, I'm sort of iffy on Brady, honestly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's number 17 quarterback. He's had a 25 and a 29 point game and then an 11, which was against Carolina of all teams. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, Jonathan. I mean, what are your thoughts about Brady? I'm sort of on the fence with him.
It's kind of tough to judge after 3 weeks, right? Because you mentioned he had the two really good games, and then the stinker against Carolina, which was, I think that was Fournette's one good game.
Yes.
AJ, you might remember that one. That was Fournette's one good game. So
Yeah, and he was on
that
my
was
bench
probably
for
just that was a
fishbowl.
game script thing. Just run the ball against Carolina is foolproof at this point. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like you said, just AJ, you're mentioning just the weapons. Once Godwin comes back, he has plenty of people to throw to. Gronk looked a lot better this past week. He looked like he was, getting back up to speed. He was picking it up again. So if he becomes a weapon there, somewhat, even just half of what he used to be, then there's somebody else that, other defenses have to worry about. So I don't
honestly,
think he's going to be.
You might even be able to wait like 1 to 2 more weeks after he gets through the Chargers and the Bears, who are still pretty solid defenses. Although the Chargers have lost a couple guys, but that secondary is still pretty tough. The Bears are still pretty tough overall. But then he gets Green Bay and the Raiders, and the Giants and the Saints again. So and then the Panthers. So then he's got a nice stretch there. So maybe you wait like 2 weeks, let him get through these next rough games possibly, and then get everybody healthy, and then maybe he just rolls for a few weeks. I don't know. Maybe you might be onto something there, AJ. So jump over here to running back here. I've got Kenyan Drake, and look, I don't feel as good about Kenyan Drake as I did coming into the season. That offense has passed a ton more than I thought they would, and obviously they've run the ball with the quarterback a lot. But Kenyan Drake has outrushed Chase Edmonds, who everybody thought was going to be the big bugaboo there, 54-12 on the season. It's 54 times to 12 times. He's averaging 4.1 yards per carry. Not great, but not bad. You'd like to see more work in the passing game. I think he only has 5 targets, five receptions. So that's kind of a shame there, because that's where you were, just hoping to get the points, especially PPR leagues. But they've passed so much and just fed D-Hop a ton. I mean, D-Hop has like record-breaking start to the season right now. It's just crazy. And obviously the other big killer is touchdowns. He's only got 1 for the year. Murray's taken 4. Let's be real. That pace is not continuing. Eventually, Drake's going to get those rushing touchdowns, and you're going to wish you had Drake. So now's the time to pull the trigger on Drake. The owners might be frustrated and just ready to, dump him for somebody who might be outperforming themselves a little bit right now, but they don't realize it. So, Jonathan, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, totally agree. Drake, like I said, he's not getting the touchdowns right now, but he's still getting the touches. He has 18, 22, and 19 touches through the first 3 weeks. Like, the opportunity's there. He's just got to find the end zone, and hopefully he stops the Cardinals actually throw him the ball. He's not Derrick Henry. He can catch. It's okay. You can throw it to Kenyan Drake.
Yeah. I mean, they're 2-1 right now. It's like, have they needed to pass the ball as much as they have? I'm kind of confused. It's just I know they smashed the Redskins, or the Washington football team. My bad. But yeah, it's the other weeks. I feel like the San Fran game. Maybe they had to pass a bunch. In the last week's game, who'd they play?
Detroit.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, AJ, who you got here?
I like David Montgomery. Again, I'm kind of going off of a little bit of strength of schedule, and for what we had seen coming into the season. So that's probably changed a little bit. But you obviously lost Tarek Cohen last week. Mm-hmm. There's not really anybody else on that roster. They just brought back I can't think of his name. Payne maybe. You got Ryan Nall. Or Pierce. Thank you, Jeff. Artavius Pierce. And they liked Pierce coming into the year too. Plus he got Cordero Patterson there, who can run, but I mean he's more of like a gadget kind of receiver running back. So I don't know if he'll get a ton of room there, but just looking at the schedule going into the end of the season after the bye week, it's smooth sailing, except for week 15 is the hard game. So if you can get by week 15 and then you're in the championship, he's going to be a good help there.
Yeah, I mean, I like Montgomery. I'm just right now. I'm not sure because of the Cohen injury how much you're going to be able to buy low on him. That's why I didn't pick him. He was on my radar as far as one of these picks, but I went with Drake instead because I think people are frustrated with him because they had so much high hopes for him. Yeah. But Montgomery's stock is rising, and it's even risen more in this past week. So, I mean, yeah, sure. If you can get him low, I'm all for it, just because of the opportunity that presents itself for him. So, moving over here to receiver, the obvious one before this past week was Allen Robinson. That clearly is not the case anymore. He just blew up. And so, I'm going to go with DJ Chark. Again, look, I'm one of the owners. I'm frustrated, man, but I'm not giving up hope. 7 targets in 2 games. He's caught all 7 for 100 yards and a touchdown. He missed a game, so he's only played 2. I'm not really sure why he's not more involved with the offense. Maybe the coverage is rolling to him more. I mean, we saw how bad this offense was last week without him. I think that really did make a difference. The other receivers there are pretty pedestrian. He's the obviously elite guy there in that group. I think once he returns, he's got the back, and I think he's over the chest thing from what I read. But the one thing you really were going after with Chark coming into the season and why his stock was so high coming in was the fact that they were going to have to pass the ball a lot, right? This offense, was going to have to play catch up. The defense isn't very good, and they are 35 times a game. That's a lot. So Chark should be getting more than 4.5 targets a game, right? 3 to 4 targets a game. Eventually, they're going to give him the ball. I just feel it. So I don't know, Jonathan, do you agree or disagree with that?
I'm kind of on the fence. I agree in the sense that he will get more targets. He's not going to average 3.5 targets a game. He's playing the most snaps. He's playing 84 or 79 the first 2 weeks. Then he got hurt. I think the only issue I have with Jacksonville is that Minshew's the kind of looks like the kind of QB that spreads it around and will just throw it to his open guy. He won't force it to his top guy. Like Keelan Cole settled in as a 5-reception, 45-yard guy every week, it seems. And if teams are keying in on Chark, then Minshew's not going to force it, is what I'm seeing. But again, like you said, the top guy will rise and it'll come through.
Yeah, I think it has to. So, AJ, you got anything to add to that?
No, I mean, Keelan Cole's been a nice addition as far as what he's done. But I think, like you said, without Chark in the lineup, they were very poor on offense. And I think that's going to, him being there, he helps draw that coverage away from some of these other guys. So it lets them have better games and kind of look like they're much better than they are. But yeah, I definitely think he's the one you want to own. And, if you can get him, go for it.
Yeah, so before we jump into some sell high, we actually have a guy here on YouTube asking us a trade question. So he says, I have Mike Evan, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, Robert Woods, Will Fuller, and Slayton for receivers. So I have depth. Yeah, definitely do. I need running backs, especially after the Mostert injury. I have Eckler, and then after Eckler, he's got Gibson, Sony Michel. Yikes. Is it a good trade if I trade Keenan Allen for Mike Singletary? Yeah. So Singletary. So Keenan Allen for Singletary. I don't know if I can do it, man. Singletary.
No.
Keenan Allen got 19 targets last week. I can't do that. You can't. Singletary's going to lose value once Moss comes back. I mean, he's eventually going to come back, and they're going to split that work again. I can't do that. I might give up a Will Fuller for Singletary.
Yeah, Fuller for Singletary is fair.
But see, the problem is you're buying high on Singletary because he's the only guy in town right now.
Well, and that's just it. I mean,
and people know that, so they're trying to do that. So I say no, but Moss is coming back, and they were basically 50-50 split, man. Not just snaps, it was targets, touches, everything. It was right down the middle. And by the way, it's Devin Singletary, not Mike Singletary, guys. He wrote Mike Singletary. I was just reading it. And I was like, that's a Bears linebacker from the 80s. Okay. That's not the right guy, but that's all good. So yeah. So we're all in consensus. That's a no. You can't pull the trigger on that. That's
no.
I mean, Evans, Hill, Allen are your three guys, and then hopefully you're starting to flex where you're starting Woods. Fuller and Slayton are just bonus. So you hopefully want to get rid of Fuller. If you get rid of one of the top three, you've got to go after one of those like top 15 running backs. And Singletary's honestly not one of them this year because of the split workload you saw in week 1 and week 2. So moving on, best of luck to you there. So all right, moving on here, do some buy or some sell high guys. And I'm starting right off the bat, Aaron Rodgers. I get it. He's been amazing, and I've been proven wrong big time so far. I just in good faith, I cannot tell you this pace is going to continue for him. I looked at all of his numbers. He is on a career year pace almost everywhere except for touchdown percentage. But he'd be like 8.5 to 9% off of career pace. Like it's 0.5%. Everything else would be career year: yards, touchdowns, percentage completion, like everything. It's incredible. I just don't see it, and especially now. I wrote these notes before the Lazard injury, so like especially now that Lazard's out, like it is absolutely time to get out. Adams has a hamstring that's like you never know with those, and I'm out. I think you want to bail on Rodgers as fast as you can at this point and get everything you can for him, because people that drafted like Carson Wentz as their QB1 are desperate, right? And they might see you toss out Aaron Rodgers, dangle him out there, be like, ooh, shiny, and like go after him and like give you something good for him. You never know. What do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, it depends what you can get, right? Because where Rodgers was drafted this year, you're going to make a profit regardless.
Right.
So unless you can really get like an RB1 or like a good wide receiver, I don't know if
it's
it's
good with like an RB2, honestly, man. Like if an RB2 is really going to help your team and you've got a good quarterback that you can back him up with, because hopefully you took Rodgers as like a QB2. If he's your QB1 and you drafted him as your QB1, I don't know if you can do it.
Yeah.
But unless there's like a lot of waiver wire guys out there. But a lot of leagues that you and I play in, and AJ, you too, we've all started hoarding those second quarterbacks because we wanted to stop that streaming from happening. We got tired of it. It's like you don't have to draft a QB. You can go take one in round 16 and then just stream every week. Well, we were like, screw that. We'll just stream within our own team. And a lot of leagues are like that, I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth, having at least 2 quarterbacks in a single quarterback league, and maybe up to 4 in a 2 quarterback or super flex league. Especially with the way this year is, with the way the injuries are, it's not going to hurt you to have that depth unless you suffer injuries somewhere else and don't have space to add. But yeah, I agree with the call on Rodgers there for sure. I wasn't a fan of his coming into the year. He's one of those just average guys. He has a couple really good blow up games, and that's about it. So maybe he's already had those games, and now's the time to go.
Yeah, I agree there. So AJ, you added somebody here who I may have to disagree with you again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think Josh Allen is just way above his pay grade right now. I mean, he's been lights out phenomenal, and it's hard to really argue the production that he's had. But he's another guy that you come into this year and you're just like, well, he can run, so you get that. Okay, fine. He got Diggs. Okay, we don't know how that's going to pan out yet. Well, we've seen how that's panned out. Pretty damn good.
Awesome.
I don't know. There's just something about Allen that I think his inaccuracy is going to eventually catch up with him. And if it does in Diggs' direction, he's going to get frustrated like we've seen in the past. And it's going to just cause some issues there. I mean, he's still going to be easily a top 10 quarterback this year. But if you can get something and you already have somebody else that's playing just as well, if not, a step down, I'm okay trading him to get a top running back if you can, or a running back receiver combo that's going to help your team more than just having him on your bench.
Yeah, Jonathan, I'll let you go first. What do you think about getting rid of Josh Allen?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it on the table. He's been absolutely incredible, but coming into the season with 290 yards as a career high passing, and then blowing it out of the water in 3 consecutive games with what looked like ease, you can't count on that continuing, right? So if somebody's willing to buy him at elite QB1 price, I think you have to move him, because at some point he's not going to throw for 400 yards, and you'll be okay with whatever profit you made.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about Allen, and this is what we said coming into the year, was that his floor was going to be incredibly high because he has that rushing ability. So I feel like when those passing yards don't come, he's going to make it up with his legs. And right now it's the opposite. He's doing it all with his arm and is not so much with the legs. So I feel like he's still one of those like top 5 quarterbacks to me. And that's kind of where I had him coming into the season. And he's going to be one of those ones where for some reason, in the leagues that I got him, I have him in 2 different leagues. I got him at like QB8 and QB9. So I'm profiting already. I don't need to trade. Like, I have the running backs and the receivers that I already got ahead of him. And I mean, if I get rid of them, I'm having to start I'm going back to streaming quarterbacks. I'm going back to having to go with Tannehill or a Minshew and stuff like that. It's I don't know if I want to do that. Allen's just been rolling for me. It's I mean, it's hard to do when I already thought Allen had a much higher floor than where I got him. So, I mean, look, the price is right for everybody. I'm not gonna deny any trade out there. But Allen's one of those safer quarterbacks, I feel like. So, especially now that he's proven he can throw the ball pretty damn well with both Brown and Diggs there. So, moving over here to running backs. I felt like it was really hard to sell on good running backs. There's just honestly not a ton out there. So, I mean, I went with guys that kind of feel like they're kind of flash in the pan, like a couple week kind of guys, but who knows what people are thinking here. And it's Henderson and McKinnon. And, people might just be buying into them a little too much, is my opinion. But honestly, both are in pretty crowded backfields. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me there. I feel like if you can get anything worth of more reliable value for those 2 guys, I'd do it in a heartbeat. AJ, what do you think?
Sorry, finally found it.
Yeah. So as I'm asking you the question, I see what you did. I was like, oh, that was bad timing. So, yeah, I mean, getting rid of Henderson
and McKinnon, I remembered to unmute it, so that was good.
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, getting rid of Henderson and McKinnon or guys like that are they're filling in for somebody injured, and they're going to have a few good weeks here. And, who knows? Maybe they will just take over the backfield, but I'm willing to take the bet that they won't, and then go after somebody who maybe is like a Drake, or I don't know if you probably can't get a Drake for those guys, but somebody who's kind of disappointing and letting people down. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good trying to sell these guys. Especially they're both kind of in the same line there as far as production and upside. But yeah, with Akers eventually coming back, you still got Malcolm Brown there. I still think Henderson could end up being the leader by the end of the season. But McKinnon, I don't trust him, as he's way too injury prone. Obviously he's got already 2 guys ahead of him that are injured and working from injury, and Jeff Wilson Jr. had an awesome game as it is. So
McKinnon got knocked out with a rib injury himself. So there's that.
I mean, that's what I mean. It's like you're already there with this injury as it is now, and who knows how long that's going to linger. So I'm okay getting rid of him.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're going to get. I think you have a better chance getting rid of Henderson for more value than McKinnon, obviously.
Yeah, it's possible. All right, AJ, who you got here with yours?
All right, I'm going with Austin Eckler. Yeah, I mean, again, he's coming off his best game so far um, against Carolina, who everybody runs on, which we already talked about. I just think that Eckler, his first game against Cincinnati was kind of meh. Uh, you know, second game against KC, okay, better. I mean, he's obviously gotten better, but he's still got a lot of tough competition after his bye week. Both games against Denver, a game against Buffalo in Buffalo, New England. Atlanta's like the nice, okay, finally I can breathe and have a good game. And then you got Vegas, which is hit or miss. So I just think that you can, if he continues to have another like good week or two, you could definitely dump him. But again, for somebody has drafted as high as he was, you're going to have to get a huge gain back, and that's got to be your target going out to give him up. And you definitely need to have the depth behind it as well.
Jonathan, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like on the fence with Eckler. Like he's getting the touches, and especially if Herbert stays the starter after Tyrod's lung is all healed. Like they're trying to get the ball out of Herbert's hands quickly. Quick passes, like he's targeting Keenan Allen, really like getting the ball out quickly, targeting Eckler a lot. And if Herbert stays there, I think Eckler's floor as a running back is very like high up there, like elite territory, just because he's going to catch 6-7 passes a game.
Absolutely.
And he won't like. I understand the Chargers' offense isn't amazing, so maybe the ceiling's not there, but the floor in PPR leagues, especially, is always going to be safe enough that I'm comfortable starting him.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with him. So not much else to add here. It's hard to move Eckler, in my opinion. But my receiver still high is Robbie Anderson. I know he had those first 2 weeks where he's had 100 yards. But let's be real here. The Carolina offense is not very good. They're going to be even worse without CMC for a few more weeks. And I mean, just like a bunch of these, speedster guys that we see already injured, he's one of them. He's a hamstring tweak away from being out a few weeks. So I'm ready to dump Robbie Anderson in a heartbeat if I can get anything decent for him. Jonathan, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I've always been on that. I guess that trade with Robbie Anderson. He's never been the most consistent guy with whatever team he's been on. And now he's with Carolina with Teddy Bridgewater and Nolan Christian McCaffrey. And all of a sudden people are expecting him to be like this low-end wide receiver too. Especially when 75 of his 279 yards came on one play. I'm not really seeing Robbie Anderson. So like you said, if somebody's willing to take him and you can get a good return, then for sure I'm selling high on Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, I agree. I've got him in a couple of leagues, and I mean he's really, because I had other depth, he's been on my bench until last week. Really, I needed somebody else to play, and then he kind of had a third game. So it's like, all right, well, it's kind of what I expected. So
all right, so we got another trade question here. The guy says, should I trade Chris Carson and Cole Beasley for David Johnson and Justin Herbert? Now,
who's his other QB?
Yeah, so he did reply because the other guy, Young Heath Ledger, it's funny name, replied to Lima FN. My other QBs are Baker and Fitz. I don't know if it's an upgrade. I don't know if I care enough to get rid of Chris Carson, who, yeah, he might miss a week or two, but I think we all think that Carson is a tier ahead of David Johnson still, despite a couple of good games. I don't think I pull the trigger there. I don't think you're upgrading your team at all. Anybody?
Yeah, I think you're not really, you're paying for, theoretically, if you're going Carson for David Johnson, you're that second player you want to upgrade. But Herbert with Baker and Fitzpatrick, you're just going for matchup plays with those three. So it's not really worth trading away Carson, who's in a consistent good offense, for somebody who you're matchup playing with anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a pass as well.
Yeah. right. So let's move into here. And AJ, you want to take the reins with this one here?
Sure.
Our deep targets that we did in week 1, right? So we did some deep targets in week 1 where they're less than 25% owned. It's kind of guys to watch out for if you're in like standard size leagues, but obviously deep targets if you're in like, really deep benches or 16-person leagues types of things. So AJ, roll with it, man.
Yeah, man. So quarterback here, we got Kirk Cousins. Look, if Justin Jefferson's going to be that good already, just go ahead and sign me up for lots of huge games from Cousins. He's already had 2 out of the 3 weeks. So that's a little unexpected for him. He still has Dalvin Cook there to throw to and dump the ball off as well. So, yeah, I definitely like Cousins as the quarterback option. What do you guys think?
Jonathan, you can go for this, man.
Yeah, I don't mind Cousins at all. His week 2 performance was as ugly as it gets, but
negative points to Scott Fishbowl.
And Cousins is supposed to be the safe one in Scott Fishbowl, right?
One of the safe ones, yeah.
One, yeah.
The completion percentage was supposed to save his butt.
His other 2 weeks weren't bad. Like against Green Bay, he scored 22 points, Tennessee 21 points. Like I get there's that aura around Kirk Cousins, but as long as Minnesota's defense continues to stink, then he's gonna have to throw it, regardless of who it's to. So the production's gonna be there. Even if he looks kind of bad doing it, he's gonna have to throw a ton. So it works out either way.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Go ahead, AJ.
All right, so running back, we got Mr. Brian Hill. This guy definitely looked better than Gurley last week. I don't think anyone really out there believes Gurley's going to stay healthy all year long. He has yet to do it the past couple of years, so I definitely like Brian Hill. Another running back we got here is Anthony McFarland Jr. He got some carries over Snell in last week's game. He played pretty well with them. Again, you're looking at the health of the starter with James Conner. He's kind of hit or miss every week, it seems like, since his big blowout year when he filled in for Lev Bell a couple years back. So, Jonathan, what do you think about either of these two?
I do like Hill, just for the reasons you mentioned. Gurley, he's liable to go out with a knee injury at any point, whether it be degenerative over the last few years or just something that happens in the middle of a week. Another reason is that Hill, he's a better, I guess, more efficient pass catcher. Last week he got three receptions, 22 yards. Gurley has 3 receptions for 3 yards in 3 games. Gurley's no longer a good receiving back, and if Hill can carve out that role again on a defense that stinks, and Atlanta's gonna have to throw a ton, then Hill has a role, and he's gonna get more and more snaps as the season goes on, as Atlanta has to play from behind.
Yeah, and I'll just make a comment about McFarland, and the one thing about the Snell, like he got carries over Snell, was that they were actually in the first half too. So like when you thought Snell was going to get his work, and Snell was the guy after week 1, when of course we all thought Connor was going to miss extended time, and then randomly came back in week 2, which nobody expected. But it seems like randomly the coaches have turned the page on McFarland, and they're giving him a chance here. So if Connor goes down, I wonder if McFarland's going to be the guy, and I kind of would bet it would be. So that's where I got that from. So
yeah. So receivers, a couple quick names: T. Higgins, Hunter Renfrow. Both guys have kind of been showing up a little bit more lately. Jonathan, thoughts on either of these guys?
I like Higgins. He's going to be the 3rd wide receiver in Cincinnati, but again, it's a team that's going to have to throw. Joe Mixon's not the guy, I guess, that we thought he was so far, because the offensive line sucks. So, and he's already passed John Ross. John Ross is a healthy scratch, so it looks like he's kind of out in the offense there. For, again, a team that has to throw as much as Cincinnati has to, wide receiver 3, I wouldn't expect 2 touchdowns a week, but as maybe they even trade A.J. Green as the season goes on. So,
it's a big possibility.
Yeah,
And then
and I
Higgins
even
gets
wonder
time.
like if AJ Green just looks like a complete shell of himself, and that's where this name came from. I just T Higgins kind of balled out last week, and you're not expecting that consistently from him, but as a deep target or somebody to watch out for in those kind of standard leagues, like you got to be ready to make the move on him quick, if not already. Just as like a stash player in that rare case that either AJ Green goes down or they just finally pivot away from AJ Green because he's just not getting it done this year. So, yeah, I don't know.
All right. So that's what we got for that topic. Moving into some injuries, some quick returning news. We got Deebo Samuel returned to practice. His teammate, George Kittle, was dealing with the knee issue, is also practicing, which is great because Jordan Howard, who let's just let the cat out of the bag now, guess what? He's on the IR. We'll talk more about that later, though. And then Michael Thomas returned to practice as well, which we alluded to earlier. And Devontae Adams with his hamstring issue. He did practice today. He's still listed as questionable. Yeah, it's still depending on. We'll see how his practice schedule goes the rest of the weekend to see if he'll end up suiting up. Quarterbacks. Yeah, no new injuries to report here, which is nice. I mean, unless you really want to consider Big Ben and Tannehill as COVID injuries, but they're out this week if you haven't heard the news or listened to the beginning of the show. Drew Lock has been, Drew Lock, Jeff Driscoll has been replaced by Brett Rippon because of downplay last week. And they let Rippon get in there and kind of see what he could do.
He's doing well so far. 17 points to 13 over the Jets.
Liked what they saw last week, even with the interception on the last play of the game. But yeah, he's played well so far. So Jimmy G is still out as well. So look for Mullins to take another game start there against the dreadful Eagles on Sunday night. Can they flex that game already? I mean, can they just be like,
I know, right?
No.
By the way, did anybody
we're not
just see
doing
the pass interference call?
Yeah.
Denver. That was so terrible. Yeah, he kind of had his arm, but he was step for step with him the entire time. Even if he got his arm up, there's no way the Jets guy catches that ball. In fact, he knocks the ball down. Like it's game over. Like that's a done play. Oh God, so bad.
Yeah, but if you didn't have the Denver defense, how would you feel about this call?
I still think it's bad. They calling me out, but no, I still think it's terrible. I actually thought he was gonna pick it off. It was such a bad throw.
All right, so let's dip into some running back action here. We've got Tarek Cohen, who I already mentioned, is on the IR, torn ACL. His season is done. Chris Carson, who we've talked about, is questionable with the knee sprain. I believe he did get limited practice maybe today, or it's possible they were talking about him possibly playing, but I don't know. Keep an eye on that.
It's an interesting one with him. We don't know yet, but he's
if
they keep trying to put a positive spin on it. I'm not really confident, but whatever.
Zach Moss, questionable with the toe. Cam Akers is still doubtful with a rib. McKinnon, who we talked about, questionable with the rib contusion. And again, that's already on top of Mostert and Coleman. Kareem Hunt is questionable with a groin issue, but he is expected to play. And a somewhat late addition that I caught was Miles Sanders dealing with a glute issue, but he practiced in limited fashion today. So,
oh no, that's probably why the trade question just came in that I saw. That I just told the guy to smash the accept button. Darrell Henderson, Hollywood Brown, and Chark for Miles Sanders Amari Cooper and A.J. Brown. I was like, that sounds too good to
What?
be true. But if there's an injury to Mike Sanders, like maybe it's not too good to be true.
What-
Oh
All
no.
right, so which side is he getting? The Sanders side?
I trade Henderson, Brown, and Chark for Sanders, Cooper, and Brown. I was like, smash, like you're done. Like that's it. You just hit it, go on. Just be
Yeah.
happy.
Absolutely.
That's-
Go grab a beer, toast yourself if you have to. Like
I mean,
it's
that's
over,
like
man.
the
That's a
ultimate
phenomenal trade.
Buy low because Sanders, I mean, he didn't even play week 1.
But he's been
He-
so good since. Like it doesn't matter. He's not really a buy
He
low.
has been good. I mean, back-to-back 95-yard
Yeah.
rushing games. Receiving was a little down last week, but still a lot of targets. I mean, 15 targets in 2 games that he's played, so that's solid.
Yeah. All right. So receivers here, we got Deontay Johnson, obviously concussion, but hopefully we know with the postponement, he can come back next week. Julio Jones, hamstring, missed last week, participated in walkthrough, so he's still kind of up in the air. A.J. Brown, knee. The postponement, as we mentioned before, already helps him big time. Alan Lazard, we've alluded to this. Surgery today on the kind of out of the blue. Like nobody knew this happened. He had a core injury. He ended up getting surgery today. He's out indefinitely. So if for some reason MVS is out there on your waivers, go grab him. DJ Chark, questionable back and chest from what I read right before the show. He got over the chest injury. Sorry. Godwin is questionable with a concussion, but it sounds like he's sort of getting in some limited work here, but it sounds like he's pretty doubtful for this week. Scotty Miller's questionable also, so cue up all the Mike Evans. Christian Kirk, questionable with a groin. Henry Ruggs, doubtful with a hamstring. Also, Raiders. Brian Edwards, doubtful with an ankle. So Hunter Renfrow, as we mentioned, is a buy low. If he's out there, go grab him. Mike Williams, questionable with a hamstring. Deshaun Jackson, questionable with a hamstring. No shocker there. Will Fuller, questionable with a hamstring. So, yeah, all the speedster guys, hamstrings. Go figure. I mean, it's why I don't draft these guys, honestly. Like, I just don't. I don't want anything to do with them. Michael Pittman Jr., not a big loss here, but people were kind of hoping for him to break out once Campbell went down. He's out with an ankle. Big news here on the receiver front, though, is D-Hop. Questionable with an ankle and did not practice today. So we've got to get him at practice tomorrow, Friday. The coaches are saying that if he misses a game or misses a practice, he doesn't necessarily miss the game because he's that good of a receiver, but you don't like to see them miss an entire week of practice. You don't feel all warm and fuzzy, but he's going to be one of those hard players to sit here if he does play. On the tight end front, Dallas Goedert, IR with an ankle. Jordan Reed, IR, not a concussion. Knee, so thankful for that. That's the last thing anybody wanted to see with Jordan Reed. And then Jared Cook is questionable with a groin. He missed the second half, I believe, of the Saints game in week 3 with that groin. So if he suits up, I don't know if you're going to be able to rely on him. And Michael Thomas is coming back, so I don't know if you want to rely on him anyway. So, all right, let's finish up here with our week 4 picks. Jonathan, what we do here is we do some sleepers and busts and then a tight end streamer and defensive stream. And our sleepers here, quarterback we'll start with, is anybody on the Fantasy Pros ECR list, expert consensus rankings list, with an ECR of greater than 15. So we'll let you pick as the guest. We'll let you go first. What you got?
All right. So I wrote 2 down just because I wasn't sure. My first guy's on the fence at 15, so I'll go with the lower one. Who we already talked about a little bit, Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Like I already said, the Vikings defense stinks, so he's going to have to throw because they're going to play from behind a lot. And they got Houston this week. Houston's 29th in the league. They're allowing a QB rating of 112 over the first 3 weeks. 70% completion rate to opposing QBs, and they're bottom 3rd in the league in QB pressures, like just under 20% of snaps they're pressuring the QB. So if Cousins isn't getting pressured, he'll have time to throw it to Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I think he'll be okay there. And like we mentioned before, he had the one terrible week 2, and then the other 2 weeks he's been fine. He's been throwing, he's been getting the points. So if you need a streamer, Cousins is ranked QB 19 this week. I'm sure he's available in most leagues, probably over 75% of them. And against Houston, I think he can have another good game.
Yeah. Well, we know he's on over 75% of leagues because he's in our deep targets where he had to be less than 25. So good call there.
Yeah.
All right, AJ, who's yours?
My sleeper QB here is Mr. Baker Mayfield.
I love this pick, actually.
I mean, look, he's been pretty bad so far this season. Not a ton of yards, not a ton of really points, but dude, this guy is going against Dallas. So anybody who goes against Dallas is phenomenal. So I love him this week.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. Mine is Fitzmagic. I know people are going to look at the defense against him, and it's Seattle, but you got to look again. Seattle's been wrecked by the pass week in and week out. And look, a lot of it might be because they've been ahead by so much, and so the team has to pass a lot to catch up. But you don't care about that when you're starting the quarterback against them. They might have 10 points through 3 quarters, but they might finish with 25 after 4. That's all you care about. So start Fitzmagic, I feel like. You know, if you're on that fence where you're streaming a quarterback this week, Fitzmagic is a big one. And I like all 3 of ours, honestly. They're great picks all around. So running backs, Jonathan, we pick anybody above the 24 mark here on Fantasy Pros. Who's yours?
All right. I got Latavius Murray. He's ranked RB 32. So against the Lions, teams have averaged 30 rushing attempts a game. You figure with Kamara doing as much receiving as he's doing, Murray's going to get half of that, maybe just under 13 to 15 carries. Detroit's allowing 5.7 yards per rushing attempt, so they're not really doing much to stop the run, especially if Michael Thomas comes back and the Saints go up. They're just going to pound Murray to kill the clock, and I'm betting he's going to score his first touchdown of the year against the Lions this week.
All right. AJ, who you got?
All right. I am looking at Nyheim Hines. We talked about Brian Hill and his huge game as the backup running back. I mean, is this week Hines' turn? Possibly. I've always been a fan of this guy. I've been big on him coming into the season. He proved it for me week 1. Hasn't done a whole hell of a lot since. So I think he gets back into the winning role this week.
Oof. Hines has been a massive disappointment since that week 1 blow up, man. Not sure what happened, but mine is Jeff Wilson, and you know, maybe it's the easy way out. I think he's like 26 on the mark, but like I couldn't steer away from it. I tried to look for somebody else and didn't like anybody that low. But Wilson, like even if McKinnon's there, is gonna get a very healthy amount of work, and we saw it last week. You know, and if McKinnon somehow isn't there, like holy crap, Wilson's gonna vault into like the top 15. I feel like it's just gonna be crazy. Yeah, Wilson's mine. So moving over to receiver, Jonathan, we do anybody above 36.
Yeah, I had Valdez Scantling. He's at 37 right now,
That's
but
not fair anymore,
I don't think
it's gonna climb. Yeah.
That'll climb. But give me like a couple seconds. I can see go find somebody else. But
and you and AJ actually wrote down the same guy, so I will go first while you guys are trying to find somebody new, because that's not really fair. Like the news of Lazard came out seriously like 20 minutes before we started recording here. So I'm going to give mine as Anthony Miller. And I mean, as AJ knows, it's BDN time.
That's right.
That's all there is to it, man. Anthony Miller they're going to pass the ball more efficiently. Jeff's shaking his head. Come on, Bears fan. Believe. Nope. Not going to happen. Anthony Miller.
Yeah, I was going to say it already did.
Yeah, I don't believe it. Anthony Miller is going to be fine. Anthony Miller is going to score some touchdowns. He's going to be good. So,
all right, Jonathan, who you got?
All right, I'm going to go Russell Gage. He practiced today, so looks like he's going to play, and Atlanta's going to have to throw. They got Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is going to shred their defense or whatever's left of it.
Every
Yeah, whatever's left of it. And Gage is already heavily involved. And if he's playing, he's going to get a ton, especially if Julio's still limited with his hamstring issue.
All right. I'm going to go just over our threshold here and hit on Mr. Preston Williams, buying into that Fitz magic as well. Again, against Seattle. The game last week was one of the best games, so I'm all over it. I think that Williams is going to get his.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's a good one. All right, busts. Jonathan, for quarterback, we do anybody inside the top 12.
I'm gonna go Matthew Stafford. He's been pretty mediocre so far. I know I was high on him coming into the season, considering how well he played last year, but been pretty mediocre, and his pass attempts have decreased through each game. He only threw 31 last week against the Cardinals, which you'd think that would be a big pass game for him, but it wasn't. This week he's got the Saints. They haven't been the best defense so far, but the talent level with Marshawn Lattimore covering Kenny Golladay, Janoris Jenkins on Marvin Jones, I think it's they're going to perform up to the level that was expected of them to start the year, and I think Stafford's going to struggle a little bit.
All right, AJ, what you got?
I was actually had Stafford originally, but then
sorry.
I went. No, you're good. You're good. I went ahead and changed it and threw in Watson. Again, like Stafford, he's been fairly underwhelming so far this season. He's got no more than 2 touchdowns in a game, whether it be through the air, on the ground, or both. But I mean, the touchdowns is not horrible. It's just the fact that he also doesn't have above 275 yards passing or